welcome to the Parkinson's Foundation's PD Health at Home Wellness Wednesdays. I'm so glad that you are here. Today's Wellness Wednesday webinar, we return to our Care Partner Conversation series. This is a dynamic and engaging conversation led by care partners of people living with Parkinson's that will share their experiences, perhaps offer some valuable strategies that they use, and provide a space for support and connection. We want to thank today's webinar sponsor, Amneal, for supporting the mission of the Parkinson's Foundation. Before we get into it, I want to remind you about our other PD Health at Home virtual programs. Each week, we offer sessions tailored to support people with Parkinson's and their care partners, including Mindfulness Mondays, Wellness Wednesdays, Fitness Fridays, expert briefings, and our Spanish language series, EP Salud on CASA. Be sure to visit our website to see what's coming up and explore our archive videos on YouTube. Our next Wellness Wednesday will be a unique and uplifting experience that blends the timeless beauty of Shakespearean poetry with the healing power of breath, voice, and creative expression. Guided by a skilled creative artist, this session invites participants to gently activate their breath and their voice through simple, accessible exercises, culminating in the recitation of a Shakespeare sonnet. It'll be so much fun. So that'll be next week. I believe that's September 11th. You can learn more about upcoming virtual programs and register at parkinson.org/pdhealth. Our Care Partner Conversation series, it was created in response to you, your voices, your feedback, and your desire for more dialogue rather than lectures. Give me a hands up if you're like, yeah, that's me. Stop lecturing me. Over the years of producing and hosting webinars, the Parkinson's Foundation has heard you loud and clear, and care partners need a space for open, meaningful conversations about the realities of supporting someone living with Parkinson's. Today's program is designed to be just that, a space for organic, authentic discussion about the topics we may not always have the opportunity to explore with our loved ones. As the first of its kind, this conversation will unfold naturally, guided by your questions, the experiences of our panelists, and the shared challenges and moments of joy that arise. There's no rigid agenda, just a commitment to hold space for whatever is present right now. And we will focus our theme today on celebrating milestones, big and small. Caregiving can sometimes feel like an endless list of responsibilities, but within the day-to-day, there are moments worth celebrating. Is there anything that you're celebrating right now? I'd love to hear it in the chat. These milestones don't always have to be big events. Sometimes it's as simple as a good doctor's appointment, a shared laugh, a moment of peace and quiet. And so today we'll reflect on how noticing and celebrating these milestones help us find meaning, stay encouraged, and nurture joy in the caregiving journey. So with that, it is my privilege to welcome our panelists, Tom, Barbara, and Terry, members of our community who are living the care partner experience every day. Thank you all for being here and for sharing this important dialogue. Let's wait for our panelists to arrive. Hey, Tom. Hi, Terry. Welcome, Barbara. Welcome, Barbara. All right, let's see what we got in the chat here. Just want to say hello to everyone. Victoria's celebrating a great movement specialist. That's wonderful. Barb is celebrating more coverage from off times with change in med timing. That's great. James, my husband, is starting his first Rocksteady Boxing Day today. That's amazing, James. Welcome. Hey, Dawn. Welcome from Minnesota. So many things to celebrate. Yeah. Keith's birthday. We're celebrating Keith's birthday. That's so cool. Great. So I am curious, Tom, Terry, Barbara, if anything's really sort of feeling charged to share in this moment of what you might be celebrating today, big or small. And it can be unrelated to Parkinson's. How about that? There's another challenge.
Well, I'll share. We just celebrated our 57th wedding anniversary on Saturday, and Gary, my husband, was in the hospital for 8.5 weeks and suffered a a serious spinal cord injury, and we have been inundated with appointments and not having any time to ourselves. It seems like we have so many doctor's appointments, so many physical therapy, on and on and on, too many to list. Anyway, we chose to celebrate by doing 2 days of a mindfulness remote retreat. And we did that on Saturday and Sunday for our anniversary. And it was so wonderful because we just had that time to be. It was very special.
Barbara, thank you for speaking to the challenge that you and Gary have been living together. 8.5 weeks in the hospital is hard. That is so
Mhm.
hard. And being able to spend time to celebrate in your own unique way, virtually with others in a mindful space, and also recognizing that through that challenge, you were able to celebrate.
Mhm.
You were able to celebrate. So thank you for bringing that to our awareness, and congratulations on your anniversary.
Thank you, Krista.
Dawn is sharing their praises. I love that, a mindful virtual retreat. Yes, thanks for celebrating with us, Dawn.
Barbara, I'll have to get more information from you later on about what that's all about. It sounds like a cool idea. Um, so my partner was diagnosed 19 years ago. 2 weeks ago was the date, which I did not remember, but he put it on the calendar. We have a shared calendar. So I was like, okay, so this means something, good or bad. So it is on the calendar. So we see it come up every year. I was out of town when that date came along, but we are making plans to recognize the date. That he was diagnosed because of course, a lot of things changed, but also a lot of things started to make sense. So, a lot of people go through this process where you don't know what's going on and you're misdiagnosed and the doctor's not sure and you're shuttled around to different appointments. So actually, was a good thing to get the diagnosis and finally find out what it is and then to treat that and to focus on it. So probably what we'll do, he enjoys going to the casino. He's not as mobile as he once was, so it does entail me taking him there with a wheelchair and getting him set up and so forth. So what's nice for me as a caregiver is I've set the afternoon aside. It's not rushed. I'm not running from one chore to another. So let's get in and out of the car and take our time. Let's go across the casino floor and where do you want to go? And then, I don't know, we'll be playing blackjack for half an hour, so I'll go find something else to do for a while. But to kind of turn that into a positive and maybe not a huge celebration, but just going out and doing something that he enjoys and something that he can still do, and then focusing on that part of it.
That's so thoughtful, Tom. And what I hear too is that there's something to celebrate in receiving the diagnosis. So, getting an answer so that you can address some of the challenges that your partner and you have been living with. So, what a relief it is. And allow us to celebrate that we found an answer and now we can take action. And now it's become a little party for you both. You get to go out and hang at the casino and be with each other in your own ways, right? Get them set up at the blackjack, and then you can go and have your fun and celebrating this Parkinson's diagnosis in your own unique way that feels supportive to you both as the person with Parkinson's and the care partner. So celebrating that fun night ahead. Is that this weekend, Tom?
Yeah, we haven't picked a date yet. We actually went a few weeks ago, which kind of sparked the idea because he used to go more often. So we'll probably do it this coming weekend or the weekend after next.
That's another great tool of setting aside a time and really committing and devoting to the relationship as a unit, as partners, is picking a date and staying committed to that. So I'm going to follow up and make sure there's that date's on your calendar, Tom.
Yeah, I think too, to kind of, part of it, he enjoys going and used to be able to go on his own and by himself. So now he doesn't have that luxury. But for it to be on the calendar and something for him to look forward to, isn't that, that's half the fun of planning a vacation, right? The build up to it, the getting there, making sure everything's in order. So, try to milk it a little bit longer, if we can.
I love how you just voiced part of the fun is planning it. And if we could bring that perspective of part of the fun is planning it, to more of the to-dos, that this is part of the fun of getting to explore ideas and opportunities where we can bring our unit as a relationship together, whether that's romantic or adult child and parent, or caring from afar, that the beauty in planning something together is something in itself to celebrate as well. So thanks for bringing that into light, Tom. Terry, anything to celebrate?
I was just actually kind of got lost in we're planning a vacation in March, and so we paid off. It's a river cruise, which we figured out is a really easy travel solution for us because it's a small ship, and my partner Jeff, who's been diagnosed since 2017, finds it easier to navigate a smaller ship. But anyway, so we just paid that off, and so we're starting to plan the flights and the hotels and the excursions, and so that's becoming exciting. So we're kind of celebrating two things: that we have a vacation plan, but also that we have an option for a vacation that meets our needs as a family, and that's really wonderful. But one thing that's also coming to mind for us in celebrations right now is, and this is going to sound really crass, but I think I'm preaching to the choir here. We're celebrating a bowel movement. So, like we were in the ER for like a whole afternoon and evening trying to deal with a compacted issue, which if you have a loved one with Parkinson's, this is par for the course. And we did all of the treatments and the massages and the things like that, and it just wasn't happening. And so, we just found it comical that when it finally broke, we were jumping up and down and excited, and celebrating kind of these just small moments that, we were just so relieved that we had some movement there. So, no pun intended. But, I think it's important that, that you lean into those smaller celebrations too, because they can be just as healing, I think, than the vacation and the larger ones.
I agree with that, Terry. And um, one of the things that we do every evening now that Gary's home is when we're laying in bed, we'll hold hands and say, "You're here. We're here." And honestly, it's a celebration every day that he's here and that we're together, which we just weren't sure was going to happen. So we're so grateful. And it feels like a little thing, but it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, Terry, thanks for bringing up the functionality of being in a human body. And when those functions start to shut down, how it can really impact the rest of the body and your mood and how you navigate through the rhythms of your day when you're not moving right, as you said. And these are things that, you're bringing up the small things, but this is what allows the body to function so that we can celebrate the bigger things. And being able to have a bowel movement is something to celebrate, as far as my body's doing the things it needs to do so that it can continue to thrive in this vessel that's living with Parkinson's disease. So thank you for bringing that to light, Terry. I'm curious if anyone here, and on our participant side, is also maybe celebrating a bowel movement, just to keep things light and airy, and real, right? This is a real part of Parkinson's, and so being honest and true to ourselves in those small wins, that is a big moment in the daily operations of living every day. So thanks for bringing that up, Terry.
Yeah, I think someone in the chat had said something about the attitude of gratitude, and you do take those things for granted. And, I'm fairly healthy and I don't have those Parkinson's related issues. And so I do take those things for granted. But then when you hear stories about that, it's like, okay, I started the day, I'm feeling good, and you just have to realize that everybody's at a different place.
That's great. Yeah, we've got a couple people celebrating in the chat. Great. So grateful for this body that does the things it needs to do. Oh, go ahead, Terry.
I was just saying I didn't realize how celebratory a BM would be. I thought it was just us. So I'm glad to hear everybody chiming in. So
Yeah, and this is why we have these conversations. This is why there are support groups, is so these challenges and also wins can become more accessible and recognize that we're not the only ones going through this. So thank you for saying that, Terry. I'd like to shift a little bit into recognizing meaningful moments. And that meaningful moment might be on the throne. It could be on having a sleepful night, an easeful night of sleep. And maybe it's that meaningful moment of touching a hand with your wife or your daughter. And so I'm curious with my panelists here and everyone who's participating in this webinar today, how do you recognize progress? Or how do you recognize those meaningful moments with your person living with Parkinson's?
I think saying it out loud, noticing what's happening, and being grateful for those moments, whether it be a little thing, like being able to walk through a doorway, or getting in and out of a wheelchair on your own, or um, holding your hand. I think any one of those things. And again, like I said earlier, that's a really meaningful part of our day is holding hands and just congratulating each other on just the little things that we're doing and that we're grateful for.
Yeah, Barbara, I heard you say it. Just say it. Just say it. Could you give me an example, Barbara, of when you're noticing a meaningful moment and you say it and share it with Gary out loud?
Well, he has just started to be able to walk. And so every time he walks into the kitchen in the morning, I say, "Look at you, you are walking." And we just smile, and it's just so celebratory. Or him getting in and out of a chair, a real chair, not a wheelchair, and just noting it, just saying, "Look at you, look at what a great job you're doing," or "I'm so proud of you," or "I'm so happy that you're able to do that."
I think it's so easy to focus on, the bad days or the negative things, but kind of, what Barbara said triggered with me. Sometimes it'll be like, wow, your balance is really good today. What's going on with your balance? And point out that instead of the next day, oh, wow, you're
Mhm.
really off balance today. So, again, just kind of reframing it. He knows he's off balance. He knows he's struggling that day. I don't need to point it out, but maybe he doesn't notice when he is having a better day, and to point that out and like, okay, so what's different? Did you change up your meds? Did you change the timing of it? Oh, you had a 9-hour night sleep. Maybe some of those little things that, maybe you see it happen one day, 2 day, 3 days in a row, and then maybe you change some patterns and you start to have more better days. But to Barbara's point, just putting it out there and so everybody can hear it, and maybe delving into it a little bit without overdoing it, but just to see if there was something. Maybe it just was a one-off for that week, but just pointing that out so the bad things don't just kind of.
I think it's for me and for us, it's important to make sure we make room for celebrations. I think sometimes in the hecticness, I can't say the word, of being a care partner, being a spouse, taking care of the house more than maybe you used to, things like that. It can get so overwhelming that you forget to just stop and look for the positive things to celebrate, and they're there. But you do have to be intentional about it sometimes because I think unintentionally, life just gets in the way. And I kind of think of that silly line from the movie Pretty Woman, where she says the hard stuff's easier to believe, right? So we say that more often. We ruminate on the hard stuff because it's there and it's present and it's easier to really settle into. And sometimes we get comfortable in the lack of celebration. So I think for us, we have to remind ourselves. And so that's generally like Saturday, Sunday mornings, we'll have our coffee on the back porch, and that's just our time to talk until we're talked out. And usually about halfway through that conversation, the celebrations start to kind of bubble up to the top in a natural, organic way. And I think that's important for us. And they're generally just small celebrations and not big, huge ones. But I do think if we don't take mindful steps to look for those celebrations on a regular basis, it's easy to forget.
You just reminded me of something, Terry, and also Tom earlier when you were talking about the work that goes into getting somewhere, like going to the casino or doing the things that you want to do, that it's a different amount of work than it used to be. And one of the things that we do through the summer, we're in Denver and at the Botanic Gardens every weekend. If you're a member, you can go in an hour early when no one's there. And so our Sunday morning ritual has always been to get there uh, at 8 o'clock and go in and just savor an hour there in the gardens before it's open. Well, now we're going with a wheelchair. And the first time that we did that was difficult, you know, getting it in and out of the car and pushing it and seeing where it went, because we were used to walking any place we wanted to go in the gardens. Well, some of those places aren't accessible, and we had to figure it out. And we'd take the wheelchair here and go, oh, we can't do that. There's stairs there. We're going to have to go this way, or maybe we won't be able to go in that part of the garden. And so it's that trying to figure it out, taking those steps one by one, and it's more work, but it's totally worth it. And we were, just so excited to be able to do it and to be getting back into something that feels more normal, even though we have to do it in a different way, and it's more work for both of us, but it's so enjoyable, so precious.
And I think too, Barbara, I mean, that's a great tip. I never even thought of that. We just joined our botanical gardens. I would love to get there an hour early without the crowds because we're up early anyhow, and you're manipulating and maneuvering through the crowds with a wheelchair. And if you're going an hour early and those people aren't there, like that's just such an easy solution. And then, you're more apt to go more often because you're not dealing with the people and having to push your way through. So that's awesome. I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, so celebrating and acknowledging progress and meaningful moments. And what I'm hearing between the three of you is it's a skill. It's a skill. It's not something that's born overnight. And when we can change the perspective of looking at what's wrong to what is going right or what is going well, life starts to feel a bit sweeter. Life starts to feel a bit sweeter. And Barbara, you and Gary being able to go to the gardens in the morning. And yeah, it is challenging. And it was so worth it. It was so worth it in the end. Um, so just thinking of those meaningful moments and taking time to pause and say them out loud. One of our participants said something like finding moments and laughing, being silly. So curious. Who here has laughed today or yesterday? When was the last time that you shared a laugh with your person living with Parkinson's or your partner? And laughter is medicine in and of itself. So, has anyone got a joke to tell? It feels so timely. I want to also bring attention to the chat. There are so many resources being shared in the chat and lots of questions specific to Parkinson's as far as navigating medication, sleep challenges, and recognizing that Laura is working really hard to answer some of those questions to direct you to more specific resources around those particular topics and subjects of Parkinson's. So thank you all for asking your thoughtful questions. We're talking a little bit about celebration, right? So celebrating milestones, big or small. How does celebrating these things, Tom, Barbara, Terry, and everyone here today, how does it impact your perspective on caregiving? How does celebrating these wins, how does it impact you?
For me, I think one thing that we would do, and kind of, I'll answer this two ways, but uh, over time, there's been a turnover in doctors and neurology in our community. And so it seemed like every couple of years we have a new doctor, we have someone new that we have to report to. You have to go in and get another exam and kind of start all over. It can be cause some anxiety. And a few years ago, last time, we had this happen, is, kind of dreading going. But we loved the person, we loved the doctor, we had a great experience. So we left there and we went out to lunch. And so again, we turned that negative maybe into a positive and said, okay, you know, we had these ideas in our head that it was going to be a bad thing, and it turned out not to be. And it's in nobody's control about the turnover. But then we went out to lunch. So, with COVID, we haven't gone out to eat as much. We'll order in or we'll pick up food. I'll pick up food on my way home from work. But to have a change of scenery, and especially for him, to get him out of the house into a restaurant. Yes, to Barbara's point, it takes a little bit longer than it did, but you get a table by the door. It's not that big of a deal. People see you coming in, they're very courteous. They understand, that what you're working with, so they're going to try to make accommodations for you. That's never been an issue. But for me, then it just kind of almost resets the rest of the day because we were out and about getting some fresh air. Again, a different environment. Someone else took care of the meal, but we weren't just sitting at the table. And again, just kind of recapping and talking about the visit and the doctor, as opposed to maybe years in the past would be like, okay, I'd drop him back off at home and then I'd go back to work. Well, then, 4 or 5 hours later, we don't talk about. So again, just for me being a bit more mindful and being a better care partner, just to set aside that time, so we both know that it's important.
Tom, you brought up something that I forgot about, and I don't know why, because it's been our life for years, is COVID and not going out to eat. And we just now started going out to eat. And we've also, like you, in the wheelchair. But just being able to do it is a celebration. Just being able to go out to eat and be in a restaurant is a celebration for us because we haven't done it for so long. It's fun. It's fun. The other thing I wanted to share too, building off what you said, something about being sweet. Um, our neighborhood is so loving and caring. And when Gary got home from the hospital, there was a meal train in our neighborhood, and people brought meals to us every evening. And it was a beautiful time in terms of the weather. It was in June. And so we had all these meals outside on our back deck because the wheelchair will just wheel right out there. And right now we're in the midst of the Colorado peach season, and we have wonderful peaches here, Palisades peaches. Maybe you've heard of them before, on the western slope of the state. And I've just been feeling so excited about being able to kind of live again in more of a normal way, that I really wanted to thank everybody in our neighborhood. So I've been making um, batches of Palisades peach ice cream every day for the last 8 days. And I made my last batch this morning, and I've been taking it around and giving some every day to neighbors who brought us meals. And I just love it. Everybody's surprised, when I bring it by, and they're just so delighted. And it's truly, truly delicious. And the other part of it is, this is something that Gary usually did, and he's focusing now on his rehab and getting stronger and all of that. So I'm doing it instead of him, but it's from both of us. But it's such a celebratory thing to feel like doing it, to have the energy for doing it, and to be able to reach out and thank people.
There's also a comment following up on what Tom mentioned of being sweet and being thankful and sending thanks to those who are supportive to you, and even perhaps giving thanks to yourself. One of our participants, Keith, said that they got on the treadmill today. Good job, Keith. Good job, Keith. You did it. And another participant mentioned giving compliments to their mother. So there we have a couple community members here who are adult children caring for their parent with Parkinson's, and I'm so curious how often or not so often we're complimented. And someone gave the recommendation of sharing with their mother, "Your hair looks so beautiful today," or "Your shirt looks so great on you. I love that color on you." Just these simple acts of kindness through words can be so touching to so many. And when I think about our community living with Parkinson's, is, "Wow, you're moving really well today." Or if you're sleeping with someone with Parkinson's, "You didn't kick and mutter in your sleep last night. Good job." So offering those moments, those words of kindness and compliment can do a lot to someone's self-esteem, especially ourselves as care partners. So really focusing the conversation, right? We have this tendency when we're speaking about providing support to someone with Parkinson's, we project it. And I'd love to bring the conversation back to us as care partners. What are we celebrating as care partners? Providing support for someone with Parkinson's. So thinking of our role as a care partner, but also an individual who has an identity outside of supporting someone with Parkinson's disease, what are you celebrating? What are you celebrating?
Well, I just celebrated a 4-day weekend, 4 days not having to work, so I was super excited. Didn't realize, yeah, I had a busy summer, working a lot, and office on, and I don't know. I woke up in such a great mood Friday. I was very surprised, but then I was like, "You get to spend 4 days with me." And then I kind of get this look. So I guess I was more excited about it, but it really gave me, 4 days to balance and do some things that I liked, to spend time with my grandkids, but also to, okay, hey, nothing's going on this afternoon. Is there anything that you want to do? What do you want to get done? And, try to make it a 50-50 thing and say, I got 4 days that we can do whatever. And that was really a celebration, and let me go back to work with a little bit more peace of mind. But also, um, you know, even though I participate in these webinars forever, it's really, you do got to take care of yourself, and you do have to do things for yourself so you can give back. And, sometimes you forget about it, but just having the 4-day break from work, and responsibilities in that way, and then could focus more on the home was a big win for me.
I think the example I gave of just making the ice cream just felt like it was more like being myself, like just being able to do something like that and share it. And it just, I'm just so grateful for that opportunity. And I think just being able to sit and enjoy hummingbirds and sit and in the garden and be able to watch the birds come and take a drink or take a bath or just having those moments where I can just take time for myself, just quiet time for myself, and not have to think about all the things that I have to do or all the things that they're coming up that are feel like work.
I think for me, I think sometimes we think of celebration as an end point, like you have to get to the certain point where you can celebrate anything. And to me, one of the things I try to keep in mind is that you can be celebratory as a mindset. And so I know it sounds silly, but sometimes I'm celebrating. I got the kitchen cleaned and closed for the evening, and we're now we're ready to settle in with the pubs and binge watch something. So I feel like one of the things that we think about as a family with Parkinson's is that it's the uninvited guest to our party. but it's still very much our party. And so we get to party as hard as we want to. And so we do try to stay in gratitude and celebrate where we can. But I think that one thing that makes that difficult is that it layers on top of some grief, right? It layers on top of some difficulty that none of us are ignoring in this conversation. The reality is that's going to be there. But our mindset and how we choose to work our way around it matters. And one of the ways that we can do that is not only celebrate our partners and our family members that we're loving through this, but also celebrating ourselves. Because sometimes I think, I don't know about everybody else, but as a care partner, I forget to do that because I'm so busy focused on my person with Parkinson. And sometimes we just have to stop and pat ourselves on the back and say, you know what? I did something pretty great just now, and then be happy about it, right? Even in the midst of all this other stuff that's going on, I rocked today, you know. And there are many days I don't rock, but today I rocked.
I'm hearing this theme of I've been using the word spaciousness. And when we are in the role of supporting someone else and their well-being, I'm noticing that it is a gift to have space. And whether that's space to myself, space away from work, or space after cleaning the kitchen. And so this gift of spaciousness, giving is such is so life-giving and nourishing for the care partners. So thank you all, Tom, Barbara, and Terry, for making space for yourself, even amongst the to-dos and the responsibilities and the tasks, and still gifting yourself that space. Terry, you said a line from a really special poem written by Rumi, and I would like to share that poem with everyone here today. And it's called The Guest House, written by Rumi. Anyone familiar with it? So she writes, "This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door, laughing, and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond." The Guest House. Thank you all for listening, and for sharing how you celebrate the simple wins, the monotonous wins, the ordinary, the extraordinary wins when we are living with Parkinson's, impacted or providing support with. I'm curious if there's any advice, Tom, Barbara, or Terry, that you would give our community who's present here today about finding and honoring moments worth celebrating. Not necessarily the end of reaching a goal, as Terry referred to, but how do we find and honor those moments worth celebrating?
You mentioned spaciousness, and I think that um, slowing down enough to notice those moments of awe, those moments that feel good, um, those those little moments like you were talking about, Terry. I have that same feeling in the evening when cleaning up the kitchen. Thanks for reminding me of that. Um, but just slowing down enough to notice those opportunities for little celebrations, like, oh gosh, it's raining. Let's go out and sit under the awning and listen to the rain, and just smell the flowers, smell the rain, as it's hitting the flowers. Just noticing, giving yourself space to do that. We look for those opportunities. We've had a bunch of rain recently, and we hadn't had any for so long. And so we just go out and stay under the awning until it gets windy and we have to come in because the awning might blow away. But it's such a, it feels like such a little thing, but it's huge. It's such a big thing. It's just slowing down to notice there's an opportunity there to enjoy, to celebrate.
I would add on to that, in addition to just being mindful, like we check in, how are you doing? Obviously, but putting stuff on the calendar. So once a month, a part of our bill paying practice is that we also fill out a gratitude slip and we put it in a jar. At the end of the year, we read them out on New Year's Eve. So, it's kind of this kind of way to just at least monthly to stop and remember, yes, the money's going out, but we have a lot going in, trying to part of our practice there. But then also we don't do this all the time, but every now and then we'll do roses and thorns. Like what was great and what wasn't so great about today. And, because you do need a moment to vent, and those to us are acceptable, but you also want to make just as much time for celebration as well. So, but I do think sometimes it's hard to think, what have I got to celebrate right now? And so we do have to nudge ourselves towards those intentional practices, whether they're on the calendar or they're just part of our morning routine, to make time to celebrate as well, because I think the venting can get overwhelming if we're not careful. And realistically so.
I love how you build in those rituals, Terry. I love that. Thanks for sharing that.
And I think if you have enough small things like that, that you're not waiting around for a big thing, you're not sitting around waiting, you're not going to come back from the doctor with a cure and all of a sudden you're going to be doing cartwheels. So if you have enough of those little things throughout the week or throughout the month, then you're appreciating life and each other, and it's just important. And again, I think Terry had said about checking in and communicating. Maybe my idea of breaking up the afternoon or doing something fun would be going out to lunch, but maybe he just wants to get outside and get some fresh air and sit under the rain. So, checking in and finding out what that might be for that particular day. Maybe it changes every day. So I think just kind of being open and being flexible, especially as a care partner, then it's going to be less stress on yourself. If you have one rigid idea in your head on how something should happen, it's never going to go that way. So why did you do that to yourself?
Yeah. And I also think there's almost a triple Venn diagram thing. There's you, there's me, and there's us. And we've been talking a lot about celebrating you and me, but there's an us that's really important, whether it's romantic, platonic, familial relationship, in that, we're in this together. And so there's celebrations that we get to share. And so, for instance, the other day we had words. We don't have words often, but we did. And we came back together in a healing way. And afterwards, we were kind of debriefing it. We talk a lot, if you can't tell. Um, but we were debriefing it, and it was like, we did that really well. Like, that was a really difficult situation that we navigated as a family really well. Or just figuring out, doctor's appointments and scheduling the day and say, look at us. We have the calendar ready for the week, and we know exactly what we're supposed to be. Like, we did this together. So I think that, there's certainly times when I have to look for ways to celebrate myself, and I'm certainly always looking for ways to celebrate Jeff, but it's really powerful when we celebrate something we've done together, because ultimately we are in this together.
I I agree with that. We often these days just talk about what a good job we're doing every day. Wow, we really managed that. We did that. And a lot of these things are just for the first time. And we recently, we found couples therapy very helpful in the past, and we recently got back into our couples therapy. And one of the things that we do every week as a part of that talk is think about what are the things that have gone really well and what are the things that we would like to do differently. But there's so many things that we can say, gosh, what a good job we did with that. That was hard. Good for us.
I love
Robert, go
I,
ahead, Terry.
This is going to sound crass, but no one else is out there celebrating us or our loved one as much as they need, right? Like they don't see, and partly because we shield most of our loved ones from what's going on in our homes, not for any other reason other than this kind of a private thing, right? But we don't often share some of the things that we deal with on a daily basis that could be difficult. And so there, a lot of people aren't aware of all of the things that we and our loved ones are doing that can be celebrated. So that's what's dawning on me is two things. Number one, we have to do the celebrating because others aren't as tuned in as we are. But also we can invite other people into this celebration as well. And this is just dawning on me. Like I need to reach out to friends and say, hey, Jeff is doing this. Come support him in his boxing class. Or I don't know if you know this, but Jeff just rode a mile on his bike. You might want to send him a text. Things like that, like inviting other people into our celebratory practices is something that I think we need to work on a little ourselves.
And Terry, to reframe it, celebrating our person with Parkinson's, celebrating ourselves. So Jeff may have done that mile on the bike. What are you celebrating? What'd you do this week?
I went to the bar. No, I went and grabbed a drink. Yeah, there's certainly like trying to work on that as well. Like what did I do well today? What did I do well this week? Yeah, certainly very much that. But it can be I think this is a caution, especially as loved ones, that we have to keep in mind is it can be easy to dismiss our stuff. Um, because we're not dealing with some of the things that our person with Parkinson's is dealing with. And so it's so easy to really focus all our celebration and energy on them. But Krista, I think it's super important, like you say, to just take some time to focus on what we're doing well too. And that is often a hidden thing because we're often not shouting it from the rooftops. And so it does fall to us often to recognize it or share it with people who can celebrate us.
Yeah, a good example of something I'm celebrating is taking an hour to rest in my bed. I'm totally celebrating that, taking some quiet stillness for myself. Good job, Krista. So I'd love to hear, Tom, Barbara, Terry, if you could share one thing that you did well for yourself this week. And that's an invitation for all of you to share in the chat. What's one thing you've done well for yourself this week? Ah, the conundrum of the care partner syndrome. One thing you did well. Did you wake up early so that you had time alone in the morning before your person with Parkinson's rised? Tom has something to share.
No, Tom was gonna say he was trying to make something up really quick and he couldn't come up with anything. So I'm gonna let everybody else speak up, but it's 100% true. I mean, I went through a few years ago, I used to be a runner and I was like, he can't even get up out of the chair. What right do I have to get up and run? So for that summer, I stopped running. And in hindsight, I was miserable and I wasn't social and I didn't take good care of my health and I was gaining weight. And he never complained or said, "Where are you going this morning?" He knew I was going off to the park to go for a run. So um, I've really shifted gears as far as that goes, to try to take better physical care of myself. Um, but I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah, and there doesn't need to be an answer, Tom. So the intention, right? The intention. Good job, Tom. You had the intention to take better care of yourself. That's something that you did well.
I started reading a new mystery book, which I love to lose myself in. Small gift.
Reading a new book. That's great, Barbara. Congrats.
I'm doing a thing where we have because of the muscle issues. Jeff has a massage therapist slash trainer come in once a week, and I just tagged on an hour for a personal massage. I'm like, you're in my house, you're already here. you know, why not just have myself a relaxation massage after you're done doing all that muscle work with Jeff? So finding things to take care of myself and just give myself some relaxation.
Mhm.
important. Heather brings up an interesting point that I wanted to, if you don't mind, Krista, if we circle to in the chat. She was concerned about infantilizing her mom with celebrations. And I think that's an important thing because I feel that way too sometimes. And I wanted to honor that comment. It is sometimes I do feel like I'm an elementary school teacher going, good job. You know, you stood all the way up without tipping yourself over. And I don't have an answer for that, Heather, but I just wanted to recognize that it is kind of a fine line, isn't it? How do we celebrate our person without making them feel childish or making that feel inauthentic or in any way not organic? I think most of the time it comes out as intended, but sometimes I think it can rub the other person the wrong way. Like, I know I took all my medicine. You're so happy for me. And it's not that, right? It's not our intention, but I do think it can come out that way. I don't have much more to say about that except that to say I do think it's something that I think about sometimes as well. And I wonder if Tom and Barbara, if you had a comment on that.
I can see what you're saying and what she's saying. Um, and right now I feel like everything is so authentic with what we are going through, and it's so joyful that I can't imagine that he doesn't love every moment of it because we're celebrating, each moment together. So it hasn't become um, repetitive. It just feels momentarily joyful.
And I think too, of course, the inflection of your voice, what you're saying, if you're not going overboard, if you're not saying it every hour, I just feel like there's a balance to it. How your person's going to receive it. And maybe them taking their medicine is a hot button, so that's not something you're going to compliment them on. So maybe you kind of pick and choose on those things are, or maybe even, this discussion that we're having, maybe that opens up some ideas with that person. Maybe you suggest that they watch this and they can give you feedback. I had recently heard, and I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but I don't know, you can tell someone thank you 20 times or whatever that number is until it starts to feel inauthentic. So saying it 4 times as opposed to 0 is a start. And I don't know if this ties back into that or not, but some things people don't get to hear enough.
I also think it might be different with a parent-child relationship as opposed to a romantic relationship. So I didn't factor that in. Um, but yeah, I think that's important to you bring up an important point, Tom, specifically, and this comes up often for me as a care partner. It's like you could ask, like say, hey, I really want to celebrate you in certain moments, but sometimes I think I might be overly excited or hyper vigilant about it. What feels right for you? Like, what should we celebrate and bring? Because it's easy to separate from each other and say, I've got to do all the celebrating, but this is a we thing as well. So just asking sometimes, not just on how you want to be celebrated, but how do you want feedback? How do you need to be told, X this and that and the other, what would be helpful for you, and including them in that conversation is important as well.
It's always so important to ask, isn't it?
And always so easy to forget. Right? You could ask. You could just ask. Do you want me to carry this for you, or do you want to try on your own? Easy question.
And that's one of the things that we talk about all the time. Let me, he will say now, I'll let you know if I need help. I need to struggle. This is work for me. This is therapy for me. This is something that I have to do. It's going to help me get strong. If I need your help, I'll tell you.
And Heather, I see your head nodding. Hopefully that was supportive to you. Okay, great. There is another comment from Tiffany, and they wrote in, you all sound amazing. I'm sure it's not easy to keep sounding positive. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And so this is a real phenomenon of being overly positive. And I want to come back to the reality of the challenges of supporting someone living with Parkinson's. And Tom, Barbara, Terry, maybe you could speak to the real and rawness of how challenging it is for you, as well as being able to have this resilient mindset of staying positive.
I feel like I'm just gonna jump in on this one because I think we may look positive, but I don't know about Tom and Barbara. But if you had seen me just last Thursday crying in a restaurant, you wouldn't think I'm really that positive. I mean, I think that we all have our moments, and that I think. And I don't want to speak for Tom or Barbara, but I do think that we're all very committed to a positive mindset. And so, yeah, do we have poor days? Yeah. Do we lose it sometimes? Yeah. Do we literally break in the middle of a Mexican restaurant and the waiter is consoling you? Yes, that happens, right? But I think it's about a general mindset and trying to stay positive, and recognizing that when you're not, you can pull yourself out of it. And that you have the skills and what you need to be positive again, but also recognizing you don't have to be positive all the time. And that's something that I've learned, that you can have your low points. You can go to that low place every now and then, and when you need to. But that doesn't mean that it's going to suck you in and never let you go. And that was my fear when this all first started, was like, if I give in to the sadness that this is bringing, I will never pull myself out. And that's not true. That's not true either. There's positive when you look for it.
Yeah, sometimes I just feel like crying. Sometimes I just feel like going in a closet and just yelling and just getting feelings out, because it is hard. But I agree with you, Terry. It's finding people to lean on, finding resources to lean on, knowing that you need support too. And that's what keeps me going. I think such a good support system that I've got people to lean on for me. And part of it is the Parkinson's Foundation, is, being here with all of you and being a part of a group. And that's a support for, I think, for all of us. But being in a support group, having family and friends that you can call and say, hey, I just need to talk. I don't need any advice. I don't need anybody to say anything to me. I just need to vent. I just need to say what my day was like. Or saying, you know what? I can't talk. I can't talk right now. I'm too tired. I just need to rest. I just need to take that hour in bed. There were
Yeah.
times I was,
No, sorry. I was just going to say, we're all human. We're all going through struggles. We all have issues. And, we're talking here for an hour, but that doesn't mean, I'm going to get home tonight. I'm not going to be exhausted and I'm going to be like, here's dinner. I might seem happy and charming right now, but tonight at 7 p.m., maybe not so much. So that's a reality of it. But these conversations are awesome because at the beginning of the call, we were talking and I'm like, I don't know that I have too much to talk about regarding celebration. And then I keep jotting ideas down. So, it's nice to be challenged and to be, you know, for again, the whole point of these conversations on these Wednesdays is to put other ideas in your head and maybe for you to spin things more positively and how can you do celebrations that are there right in front of us that we're taking for granted. And so we all have our good days and our bad days.
Yeah, we're all human, living a human experience with a full spectrum of emotions, and we have the choice. We have the choice to see the wins, small or big. We have the choice to wallow in our sorrows. And there's something that I've been using recently, saying how heartbreakingly beautiful life is. Heartbreakingly beautiful. And as we wrap up our time today, my friends, just want to thank you all for being open to the conversations, to Tom and Barbara, for sharing your life school, right? Your lived experience of what it means to care for yourselves while caring for someone else with Parkinson's, and also all of you participating in the chat, asking questions, sharing resources. We have 2 other Care Partner conversations that are posted that you can refer back to. And Terry, Tom, Barbara, just curious if you have any final words to share with our community here as we close our time together today.
I would just say communicate, talk with your person with Parkinson's and just be open to what they have to say.
I would say things change. And even though things may feel difficult this moment, the next moment, things may feel differently. And it's really important to keep that in mind.
Yeah, what we're experiencing is temporary, and it will never be like this again.
Mhm.
Well, thank you all again for sharing your time and your presence and your gifts of lived experience during these care partner conversations. And thank you, Barbara, Terry, and Tom, for holding the conversation forward and navigating the challenges and also the beautiful milestones and wins, big or small, that we can celebrate as a community. And we want to thank today's webinar sponsor, Amneal, for supporting the mission of the Parkinson's Foundation. The Parkinson's Foundation recognizes that care partners are vital to the well-being of people living with Parkinson's, and this dedicated webpage is designed just for you. Whether you're new to caregiving or have years of experience, this page meets you where you are with practical tools, educational content, and emotional support. You'll find printable guides, videos, and tips to navigate the evolving role of caregiving, including help with decision-making, communication strategies, which is one that it's a topic that we tend to circle around a lot about, and communicating our needs and supporting each other through communication, and also the subject of caregiver burnout. It also connects you to signature programs like our Care Partner Summit or PD Health at Home Mindfulness Mondays and education sessions, and relevant episodes from our podcast. For those planning ahead, we offer trusted tools like the Hospital Safety Guide, advanced care planning guidance, and legal considerations. So please bookmark this webpage or share this page with others. It's a comprehensive starting point and a trusted place to return to as needs evolve and change in the progression of Parkinson's. We also have the Care Partner Guide. When a loved one is diagnosed with Parkinson's, it can bring unexpected changes that may involve learning new skills like communicating, asking needs, learning how to coach without infantilizing your adult, your parent. So maybe even adjusting daily routines and navigating these emotional ups and downs, the experience of being human. Every care partner's journey is unique. And so we developed this Care Partner Guide that's designed to offer support and encouragement. It features 5 wellness keys with practical tips, insights, activities, and resources to help care partners at every stage of their journey. So you can view or download the guide in the PD library at parkinson.org/library, and print copies are available. We also have a Care Partner course. It's free, it's interactive, it's an online program created to meet you wherever you are in your journey. It's self-paced and it's flexible. So if you're curious about this Care Partner course, the website is on there right at the bottom where it says Start Today, and this recording will be available. You'll receive the link to that Care Partner course as well. And I want to make sure that I highlight our Care Partner Summit. It's a signature annual event created to meet the needs of those caring for someone with Parkinson's, wherever you are on the journey. This year's theme is Caring with Confidence, and we'll explore how care partners can strengthen identity, how you can set boundaries, how to communicate effectively, and maintain your own well-being. And this event will be a mix of expert insights, heartfelt panel discussions, and space for participants to reflect and ask questions. It's one of our most meaningful offerings created for and by care partners. So this year's event, again, will focus on identity, boundaries, and support. So I hope that you're able to join us for those conversations. The website's parkinson.org/care partners care summit if you're interested in joining us on November 8th. If we didn't get to your question, or if new ones come up, or if your question is really specific to your unique journey through Parkinson's, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Parkinson's Foundation. We have a helpline staffed by Parkinson's specialists. They're real people on the other side of the phone, which is super valuable. So I encourage you to reach out to our helpline at 1-800-4PD-INFO, or if you feel more comfortable writing an email, that email's up there as well. All right, my friends. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you for joining us, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, knowing that together we can navigate this path and continue building a brighter future in community. Take care and be well.